Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick with CBT News. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I've got with me Mr. John Fitzpatrick, who is the CEO of Force Marketing. You've seen him here before on CBT News. John, we wanted to get from you kind of a wrap up from NADA from your perspective. You were actually scheduled to speak at the JD Power Summit, right?
Yeah, it was the Auto Summit. And
unfortunately,
like many, my flight didn't get me in time with the storms and whatnot. But my team is strong, and we like to say, when you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And
That's right.
Cody Tomczyk, our SVP, jumped in the seat and had a great panel. The conversations that I was getting from folks that were in attendance were that he nailed it. He felt, he had great things to add. It was modernizing your dealership playbook. So he was on there with folks from, JM&A and Truist Banking and some other folks. And they just had a conversation about what dealers need to be thinking about in 2025 and beyond, in terms of updating their systems, updating their workflows, their marketing, obviously, the audiences they connect to, the data systems they have, all of those things. So a lot packed into a 45-minute session.
Yeah, it was a little challenging this year for obvious reasons because of the weather, and some people weren't able to make it out. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. And I talked to the president of NADA, as you know, Mike Stanton. He's a good friend of the CBT's, and he said that the exhibitors found that it was a much more of an intimate situation for them. Did you? I know that it's your 18th year exhibiting. Did you find that to be the case?
Yeah, high engagement, right? If you were there, if you made the commitment, and it was a commitment to get there.
I know.
Then you were, let's do business, let's talk. And so there's no doubt about it that there was a high level of engagement with everybody that you had an opportunity to speak with.
Right. I likened it to with one of my guests that was on. As you know, we had the CBT stage there, and we conducted over 40 interviews with a lot of.
You guys were nonstop.
Yeah, we really were. It was crazy, but we loved it. It was great. And one individual that's a dealer said, this is like a Saturday when it's pouring down rain and a customer makes it into the showroom.
They're buying.
That's right. They're there to buy.
That's
so
right.
I think it was much like that at this year's NADA, which is good.
I would agree.
Yeah. So talk to me about some of the trends and some of the concerns that dealers shared with you as they came into your booth. And so what do you hear out there?
Yeah, so one thing that's sort of happening in the space on our side, there's been a lot of technology introduced to dealers and to dealerships.
Yeah, that's for sure.
In some cases, everyone's got a great presentation and pitch, and it feels like, okay, that tech can help me in some sort of way. And in many cases, they can. But there's been sort of too much tech introduced, maybe too soon.
Okay.
And so what I've been analyzing and having a lot of conversation with is, how do we get these technologies that are all great to start working together on behalf of the dealer, right? And the dealer not needing to be an expert in maybe all of those technologies. Some of them are operational in the dealership, but some of them are behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take your data the next mile. And so one of the things that we've been focused on is key strategic partnerships where in our system, our customer data platform, Audience IQ, we can just make it easier for the dealer to see the value in that system. And so, we introduced a partnership at this year's NADA with a company called 4Eyes.
Okay.
4Eyes has a product called 4Eyes Connect that very simply allows us to connect with the CRM data.
Okay.
Right? So when a dealer says, hey, I think you guys do a great job, and all of your analytics seem to be working, but at the dealership, they're not feeling it, right? And so is it you? Is it our third-party leads? Is it the leads we're getting from the OEM? Who should we look at? And what 4Eyes has done is connected all the data pipes, right? And piped that data into our Audience IQ so that we could see a more holistic picture of all of the leads, not just the leads we're bringing in, or not just the connectivity to the DMS, because we've had that connectivity with CDK and Reynolds and all of the big boys for a long time. But now we have full access to the CRM data through the 4Eyes Connect partnership. And it allows us to have a much deeper conversation with our clients on what's working and what's not working. Because look, when we started this business, a big focus was, how do we help dealers eliminate ad waste? Well, in order to eliminate ad waste, you first have to be able to identify it.
Right.
And this partnership is going to allow us to do that in a more meaningful way than we had before. And we're already seeing that with the pilot tested, so we're really excited about integration partners like that.
That's great. And you're right. You hit the nail on the head when you said dealers, they want to focus on selling cars, servicing cars, motivating their people, taking care of their business, and they're not Bill Gates running around, and they need to partner with a vendor that is able to take care of all that, right, and take it off their table.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, look, table stakes. You have to have the best strategy, and fantastic technology to scale in automotive marketing, right? But then it's equally as important to have a world-class client success team of professionals that understand how to drive that Ferrari that you just built for the dealer.
That's right.
How do you drive it around the track at winning speed?
Yeah.
So that you can increase market share, so that you can make sure your retention rates are good. So you can have one conversation with the customer, not two disparate conversations, one in service and one in sales.
Right.
And so that's what we've been solving for. That's what we'll continue to solve for.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And for the most part, the dealers that I was talking to and interviewing, they felt as though 2025 is going to be a great year in automotive.
No doubt
about it. The analysts out there are saying that as well.
No doubt about it.
Cox Automotive was throwing around 16.4, maybe 16.5, 16.5 million new vehicles sold for a SAR. So there's a lot of enthusiasm for 2025, right?
A lot of optimism.
Yeah.
I saw Jonathan Smoke speak at an event, and he just went through all of his, data points, and at the end said, kind of rounded up, he's like, every single data point points that it should be up and to the right.
Yeah, that's great.
And
that's great.
And so, what are you doing to get more than your fair share is the question.
Right.
How are you going to attack this 2025 year that should be absolutely, a great year in all categories.
Right. But that being said, we don't have the gross profits that we had on these deals from 2021 through 2023, 2024. We saw those really start to taper off, which means that the dealer now needs to really focus on fixed ops as a revenue generator. I know they always did, but even more so now, that's front and center, as well as F&I. We want to maintain that, $2,000 plus on the back end of every deal. So talk to us about that, because I know that you've got for variable ops programs as well as fixed ops.
Absolutely. So, another person I got a chance to hear speak was Daryl Cunningham, and he's a great client of ours at Group One. And one thing as they're looking in their acquisition strategy, it's all about first, after sales.
Okay.
How is that store doing in after sales?
Okay.
And can we come in and do a better job?
Okay.
Because right there, we know that we can make that acquisition accretive to what we're building for at Group One.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the smartest dealer groups out there are thinking about it the same way.
Sure.
And we help in a big way do that, right? Through our GSM acquisition, we acquired a tech stack that was all about retention and lifecycle management for a dealership.
Right.
And it was built on the backs of Toyota, specializing in helping them with TLE and TLEE metrics. And who doesn't want to look like a Toyota dealership? Those are oftentimes some of the best run dealerships from a retention standpoint
no doubt.
that there are.
That's right.
And then we obviously brought that across all of the OEMs. And so that's a big conversation starter for us. We can come in, we can help improve retention metrics, and then we can help with sales. We can help with used cars. We can help with really our mission is, we help move their business forward.
Sure.
Right. So not just sell more vehicles, not just service more vehicles and have more RO opportunities, not just profitability. Help them improve their business through marketing. Right. That's our goal.
Talk to us about used cars, because that is one of those other areas that dealers are going to be counting on to generate gross profit. Obviously, it's been a race to the bottom on the new car side, and people are now getting, selling cars for a few $100 over invoice or what have you, making up where they can in other areas of the deal, as I mentioned, finance and what have you. But what about used cars? A, will it be a good year? And B, what does a dealer need to do to maximize front-end gross profit on a used car deal?
Well, you got to buy right?
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that you're buying at the right number, and if that's a fluctuating scale, you got to figure that out. One of the folks I was having some conversations with in preparation for the JD Power panel was Brian Kramer with Cars Commerce and all that he's done with their AccuTrade tool. You got to have good tools that allow your dealers, your managers,
no question,
to be buying right, to be sourcing the vehicles right. And so, and unfortunately, he didn't make the panel either due to the weather. But in those rehearsals, I got to sort of hear through their lens, how they attack it. And from us as the marketing partners, we want to make sure we're bringing in the trade-ins, right? The opportunities to win the person's lease renewal, or go after late model, inventory that we know that dealer's already out looking for,
right?
look, they've already sold the first car to them. So if they didn't get a chance to earn their service, how can we come in through a data-driven marketing approach and say, okay, we lost the service, but don't lose the customer.
Right.
Win them back, buy that car back. You need it anyways.
Yeah.
Let's put it on the lot. Let's price it right. Let's merchandise it right. Let's spend the appropriate amount per hood in marketing.
Right.
Let's get that thing moved in a timely manner, right?
Sure.
We know that velocity is a really important concept right now, right?
Oh, no
Floor plan
question.
financing's up in terms of the amount, that it's costing a dealer on that versus years past. And so we've got to be turning a little bit quicker.
That's right.
Marketing can help with that. The appropriate marketing can help with that. So, back to your original question about, what are dealers looking for throughout the entire conference, and all of our conversations are about, okay, are we with the right partners that understand to bring the technology together, look for 1 + 1 = 3 scenarios, vendors that they've made integration partnerships with that allow us to scale our business, and help us eliminate that ad waste.
How does a dealer know if they're with the right partner? What are some of the things that need to be on that checklist?
Are they asking the right questions?
Right, but what are those questions?
Well, I think it's not just the KPIs of digital marketing, cost per click, bounce rate, engagement. Like we've got cost per conversion. All the vanity metrics, right? They're important to a degree, but they're table stakes at this point.
Okay.
Right? You got to be with the best in class. By the way, any of these certified program lists will tell you who the top 10 are, and then they'll tell you who the top 3 are.
Yeah.
Right? In our case, we have 12 of those. We're in the top 3 of all of them.
Okay.
Because you have to be.
Right.
Then which products do they have in technology that can take that data the final mile?
Okay.
Which partnerships have they went out and created? Whether that is with Four Eyes or whether that's soon to be announced a partnership we've been putting together with Automotive Mastermind. Okay. And there's a couple of other players in the space that we've been looking to make integrations with, because what we've realized is that there is very important, very quality data in that partnership, but they're not going the final mile to connect with the consumer. And so look for outcomes, right? One of our core values at Force is outcome focused. Not just spend the dollar. It's an investment dollar. What was the ROI on that dollar? Right? And constantly be shifting towards the highest ROI of the marketing spend. It's not just an expense. It shouldn't just be a line item that stays fixed. Every line item in your marketing budget should be a variable. Okay. And it should be based on ROI. Okay. And if you can't measure it, don't spend it. Okay. So conversations like that, right? Where you dig in and you apply strategy. And look for folks that sort of, we've coined it a toolbox. We've built a marketing toolbox for dealers. If they need a screwdriver one day, need a hammer one day, you might need a whole toolbox one day.
That's right.
But
you might need a chainsaw.
All of those. You might need a chainsaw.
That's right.
But you've got all of those in the toolkit. That's what we've been building for. What we found is that's effective for our dealer groups. And that's how we believe they should be attacking those partnerships.
Sure. Are dealers still doing direct mail?
Absolutely.
And if so, where are they doing it?
So until there are no more mailboxes outside that you check every single day when you come home, the mailbox is effective. But you got to be detailed and personalized in your communication. Right?
And that data's got to be good.
I think what is somewhat old, outdated, and not as effective is 10 event mail campaigns, 100,000 pieces. Right. We don't certainly do them. I'm sure maybe some dealers are doing them, and in some markets, maybe they are effective. Right. But we've gotten way away
There's
from
nothing worse, though, that and I still get them. Bridget had a BMW 6 Series that she drove, and we've sold it a long time ago. Okay, we still get, hey, would you like to trade in your 6 Series BMW, or would you like to have it serviced, or what have you? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, where are they getting this data from?
Ad waste.
Yeah, totally ad waste.
Think about that as ad waste.
The printing, the postage, the
data wasn't
the time.
clean. There's no data hygiene in the system. That's a big piece of what audience IQ does.
I say BMW, but it's happened on almost every brand of car that we've had, where it's like, we let that thing go 2.5 years ago, and I'm still getting mail from the dealership. In fact, a couple of times, I actually called just because I'm in the industry. I said, hey, I just want to let you know, we sold it, take my name off. Got one the next month.
Yeah, exactly. So, you probably didn't get a call back.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I do the same thing, right? So I just click the QR code or message the dealership. I haven't had this car in a while. Please give me a call. I'd like to talk to you about it because I am interested. I just throw that out there, whether I am or not, just to see if I get a call back.
You're not getting a call.
Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, I do not get a call back. So I don't know where that's going. That's that connectivity issue, Jim, that we're talking about. Like, if we're spending all this money in marketing, and in my opinion, we still spend way too much. Yeah. Okay. The OEM spends too much. Tier 2 spends too much. Tier 3 spends too much. Now I have an automotive marketing company. Right. And I'm saying you're spending too much. Right. Right. Because you are. And it starts with ineffective data. Right. It's disparate technologies,
Yeah.
right? Multiple conversations. Yes, you're having multiple conversations with your consumer, but through multiple vendor partners.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. Can we eliminate some of these vendor partners? Can we pick some winners and then ask them to work on your behalf?
Right.
For this 1 + 1 = 3 scenario, which
Sure.
by the way, should also not cost the dealership any more money.
Right.
Okay? Look, I've chose you three because you're best in class in each of your categories.
Yeah.
I need you to work together and we need to improve our ROI in marketing. That's a conversation that most should be willing to have. We would love to have it.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to leave it right there. I'd love when you come in because we get so many great comments and emails, and they say, man, that guy's not only is he full of energy, but he's full of great ideas, and we need to take a closer look at our marketing because so many dealers out there, as you know, and I agree with you, there's a huge waste factor going on. It's unbelievable. For dealers that are, have come back from NADA as I did, and we conducted, as I said, so many interviews. John had a great setup out there in his booth, and it was on fire the whole time. But the reality is that there were over 650 exhibitors out there. And man, you could see the look on a lot of dealers' mind, like, where do I go? What do I do? Everybody's telling me that I need first-party data, and I need this, and I need that. At the end of the day, you need a quarterback that brings it all together for you. I know, John, you've been doing it for so many years, and your company's got so many big clients out there for a good reason.
Yeah.
But
that brings up something. If I can for a second, plea with your audience.
Yeah.
If you were planning to go to NADA and you couldn't get there.
Yeah.
Right. But you scheduled the demo. Take the demo virtually. Right.
Yeah.
These sales professionals all over our industry look forward to the Super Bowl of automotive that is NADA.
Right.
And it's not just for the sale, right? The sale is the outcome. We'd all love the sale.
Yeah.
But it's also iron sharpens iron. Tell me about what you didn't like about the product in our presentation pitch, what you might not need in that scenario, right? Like, have some empathy that these folks, either they made it and it was not as busy as it usually is, right? Or they didn't make it either, right? We were bringing 18 people out of there, out of 7 different states were flying in to man our booth.
That's right.
7 made it. Not because we told them to stay home. They couldn't get there.
Yeah.
So we, so the folks that are feeling, right, from a culture hit, they weren't there, they weren't connecting, they weren't participating in that iron sharpens iron scenario. Yeah. Please have the calls, and this is not just for Ford, this is for everybody.
Yeah,
right?
I love it. Yeah.
In the next coming weeks, hear them out.
Yeah, that's right. So the message is, have you hugged your vendor
lately?
And if you haven't, then give them the opportunity and find out what's out there. And don't jump over the year to next year. But so again, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Really appreciate it. It's a special treat for me. But to have you in the studio with me, so thank you so much. And all of you, stay tuned to CBT News. Thanks so much.